Yeah, hello viewers. Hello viewers. I welcome you to this talk on addiction. And my name is Gitonga. Uh, I'm a counselor, an author, I'm a corporate trainer, and a very grateful alcoholic, recovering alcoholic addict. And today I invite you to talk about addiction, the pain beneath the behavior. That's what we are calling it, the pain beneath the behavior. Yeah, so I'll start by giving a brief story about myself. Uh, I was introduced to drugs and alcohol when I was in Form 2 many years ago. And just like any other young man or young teenager, just exploring, I was introduced to drugs and alcohol, and I continued with the behavior, just trying here and there until I finished Form 4. And then I went to college, and in college I continued with my behavior of taking drugs and alcohol until I graduated. I was taking a diploma in analytical chemistry, and after 4 years I graduated, and I got a very nice job at a soft drink company as a quality control assurance assistant. And by then, alcohol and drugs had gotten better part of me, and just like any other an addict or an alcoholic, uh, after working for 3 years in the soft drink company, I had to make a decision either to quit drinking and drugs or to quit the job. And the easier option was to walk away from job. And I walked out of the job, and I became a hawker in our hometown. I started hawking and taking drugs and alcohol. It was very painful, but I didn't know why I kept on drinking and using drug, despite all the consequences that I was facing. That is losing job, losing money, breaking down relationships that matters. And the problem continued. I didn't know why I kept on doing that. After hawking for 1 year, I was introduced in the insurance industry, and I continued working as a salesperson. I started a career as a salesperson, and I sold for 7 years. Actually, no, I sold for 10 years because I worked in one company for 7 years and then changed to another company for 3 years. All along, I was struggling with drug and alcohol, despite being good in my sales career. Yeah, and I could tell I was making some money and just sabotaging myself financially, and because of alcohol and drugs. And once I finished money, I would go back to working again to get more money to use and to service my behavior of addiction. And I remember I was most of my questions were, why is it that I'm not drinking like a normal person? You know, normal people used to drink maybe 2, 3 and go home. But for me, it was the opposite. I would wake up morning, go drink, go to job. Along the way, I would drink and take drugs, and in the evening, I would do the same. And the fight continued. I tried several ways to quit. I remember there was a time I had a journey of getting into church, different churches, getting salvation, and going back to drinking. And I'm not against salvation. It didn't work for me that way, simply because of reasons I came to learn later is that I was in denial. I wasn't ready to stop or to start the journey of recovery. So I got saved several times. I also started getting suicidal thoughts because I didn't understand why, despite trying all all the avenues of trying to quit, I kept going back. It was a journey of pain. It was a journey of emptiness. It was a journey of isolation. It was a journey full of so many negative consequences. But I thank God, I remember this one day, I was seated somewhere, Uhuru Park, and I found a guy passing by, and I recognized him as one of my old timer in high school, where we used to drink and use drug with. And I invited him for a drink because I had it in my pocket, but he declined and told me, you know what, these days I don't drink. I have 1 month clean. I'm 1 month clean. And I could not understand how one can stay for 1 month without drug and alcohol. So, in fact, he even told me, you know what, I'm going for a support group in a certain church here. Yeah, what group? I asked, and he told me it was a support group for people recovering from alcoholism and addiction. So I followed him, and when I went there, I found so many people. I was welcomed warmly, and the meeting started. It was a group therapy, and people started introducing themselves as recovering alcoholic addicts. But to me, most of them never looked like they have ever taken alcohol or drugs. But one thing I came to learn was that addiction is not a disgrace, it's a disease. And it's a disease that affects body, mind, and spirit. And I learned so many things. And today I'm inviting you to take you through the journey of what I learned and also my experience in this journey of recovery. And so we'll start by defining what is addiction. And we'll say that addiction is a repeated behavior despite the negative consequences. Yeah, if you find yourself getting into a behavior that you keep on repeating over and over, despite the negative consequences, probably you are experiencing an addiction. And when we talk of addiction, we talk of several types of addiction. We have 2 types of addiction. One is chemical addiction. Chemical addiction is addiction that uses drugs like alcohol, bangi, miraa, ama jamba, the most now being widely consumed by young people. Prescription drugs. There are people who are getting addicted to painkillers. Drug over the counter. They buy from the chemist. And that's why you see the manifestation of our addiction is so high in our country. If you want to see the businesses that are thriving these days, these are joints where people take alcohol, or chemists, where people are buying these prescription drugs. They do what we call self-prescription. Yeah, and that's now the chemical addiction. And we also have the behavior addiction, the other kind of addiction. And behavior addiction include gambling, where people keep on gambling. And social media addiction, it has become rampant. You see people spending most of the time on social media and watching. And it's good to note that social media is a double-edged sword. There are people who are making money out of social media, while others are just cleaning away their time. The other kind of addiction that is in behavior addiction is pornography, masturbation, food addiction. We also have shopping addiction. There are people who become so much addicted to shopping, and every time they get money, They end up going to a shopping spree. We also have addiction to what we call debt. There are people who are always dating, getting into debts, wallowing in debts, debts that they cannot clearly define where the money went. Yeah, there's so many kinds of addiction. And we normally say that addiction is a way of numbing underlying pain. Yeah, and most of the underlying pain that people use addiction to numb is what we are calling trauma. And we'll talk about trauma next week, but let's focus first on addiction. So we say addiction is something that you find yourself doing, even when you want to stop, you have no control. Because when it comes to addiction, people lose control over their behavior or over their use of drugs and alcohol. And we say that addiction is like a pregnancy. It is easier to hide when it's starting, but with the time, it becomes obvious to everybody except the addict. Yeah, that's where you hear people complaining about the addict's behavior. And yeah, because they can see that there is a problem. But an addict is unable to see that. An addict is able, he thinks that everybody is against him or her, Yeah. And if you find an addict happy with you, probably you are becoming an enabler. Yeah, but when an addict is angry with a person, maybe a family member, could be probably that family member is trying to help the addict, because addiction is a disease of isolation. The more you try to help an addict, the more he isolates himself from you. Yeah, and the more you enable the addict, maybe you are supporting his behavior, maybe through supporting him financially or other ways. He become your friend, Yeah, because you are supporting his behavior, continuity. So, how the reason why people are unable to quit addiction is because addiction operates on 3 levels. The first level, it operates on the body of an addict, especially chemical addiction. And the body of an addict develop an allergy. There are people who eat eggs, their body reacts. There are others who eat certain foods, their body reacts. So addiction works on 3 levels: body, mind, and spirit. The body of an alcoholic is not like, it does not work like a normal person. And the body of an addict and alcoholic develop what we call allergy. Yeah, they do not process the chemicals like normal people. Normal people drink 1 or 2 for the road and go home, and they're able to do their things. But an alcoholic end up taking too much, and or end up using all his money, or even end up getting chased out of the pub. Or even there are these kinds of people who are drinking at home, they end up passing out. They have no control over their drinking or taking drugs, simply because the body of an alcoholic develops an allergy. And that allergy causes craving. And that craving ensures that an alcoholic or an addict keep on going back to the behavior of taking more and more, because now it's an allergy. The body is asking for more and more, and the more the person takes, the more the body becomes takes the toll. You realize that the body manifests now the consequences of too much taking, and the person is unable to stop because it's an allergy. The allergy the craving keeps coming back over and over and over. Yeah, so the other level of addiction is the mind. When the body becomes allergic to alcohol and drugs and craving start, the mind develops what we call obsessive compulsive disorder. These are multiple streams of thoughts that keep on flowing, and one is unable to stop them in the mind. Yeah. So the mind think about where to get the next dose, where to get the next alcohol, where to get money to buy, yeah, who can support that habit, maybe who can I manipulate to get money to buy alcohol, because now the body is asking for the dose, and the mind go overdrive, thinking of where to get the next dose. And because addiction affect in the mind, it affects the dopamine production. The other level it affects the human being, the addiction, is the level of spirituality. The person becomes disconnected with the essence, his true self, his higher being. Yeah. And now the person makes drugs and alcohol and also the behavior of addiction, the higher self, the God, Yeah, and the person becomes selfish, self-centered, manipulative, wallows in self-pity, and even to a point of becoming or entertaining suicidal thoughts, because the person is totally disconnected from life. Yeah, so it affects body, mind, and spirit. And that's why it is very difficult sometimes where you see people relapsing, because if you're dealing with the body, treatment of the body and mind, maybe your body have undergone detoxification. The mind has gone through therapy, counseling, and the spiritual part of it has been ignored. The habit is likely to recur, and that's what we call relapse. Yeah, but once the spirituality of the human being is well taken care, the whole body and mind recovers naturally. Yeah, so that's why we advocate for support groups, because support groups, you get people who are already managing their issues. That is, after detox and counseling, we need support groups that introduces us to the essence of our true calling. Yeah, to give life a meaning. Yeah, or to identify with a power greater than us. That is higher. We choose to call higher power. Yeah. So in summary, what I'm saying is that alcoholism, addiction is about losing power, becoming powerless over the habit of our choice, over the drug of our choice. And the first step to recovery is accepting, I cannot handle this behavior. Once an addict or an alcoholic or accept that they cannot manage, they are powerless over the drug or whatever the addiction or alcoholism, they break the denial. Yeah, because denial thrives on the disease thrives on denial so much. Yeah, and so the first step is to break denial. Once the addict accepts or admit he has a problem and he accepts help, then the rest is easier. But as long as an addict does not admit and that he has a problem and does not accept help, it becomes hopeless to help the addict. It becomes hopeless to help an alcoholic. Yeah, the second step is to admit that despite all this, there is a power greater than us that can restore us to sanity. Because addiction is about insanity. And as they define, insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. So when a person is an addict, he becomes insane. Even the things that the person does, it's insanity. How can you explain somebody taking a loan and going to gamble all the money, even selling cars or even selling their houses? Yeah, or even using their whole salary to drink. And it's a repeated thing over and over. That is insanity, and it's a sickness. Yeah, addiction is not a disgrace, it's a disease. Yeah, it's a disease, it's a chronic disease, just like any other disease. Yeah, it's a chronic disease, and it's a killer disease if not well taken care of, or if not arrested. So what am I saying is that these people, they need support group, because you cannot handle it alone. Because addiction is a liar. It's a liar disease. It's a disease of lies. You know, it's the only disease that convinces the addict that he or she is not sick. Again, it's a disease that tells you you can do it alone. But most addicts and alcoholics clearly knows, especially those in recovery, that you cannot handle this disease alone. It's too much for one for a person to handle it alone. You need help, and that's why support group are there. And it's a disease of recovering one day at a time. Yeah, it's a disease of recovering one day at a time through the support groups. And by, when an addict starts recovering, by and by, he gets a vision of staying sober on one day at a time. And once he gets a vision of staying sober one day at a time, we call it a journey of 24 hours. Yeah, an addict is able, or alcoholic, or is able to focus on 24 hours journey. And those 24 hours journey, as they increase, the addict start getting recovery, and his life changes. And once his life changes, he becomes a very effective and productive member of society. Yeah, and surprisingly enough, most of alcoholics and addicts are genius. Yeah, if you look around, you see most teachers who are very talented, probably they are addicts or alcoholics. Most lawyers and doctors who are well talented, even drivers or mercenaries or electricians. Yeah, even farmers. Most of them who are extraordinary in their work, probably they have an addiction, an underlying addiction. Yeah, that if not well arrested, it render them useless. Yeah, you find somebody doing work very well, but they have been reduced by alcohol and drugs or other addiction to even, I don't know what to say. But there is hope. There is hope. Yeah, I remember I told you I was an addict and alcoholic. And I get my support of facing each day from my support groups. And they have helped me view life in a different way, in a new way. And that's why I'm reaching out to all those who are struggling silently. Yeah, we don't have to die alone. Remember, we are sick as our secret. The more secret we have, the more sick we are. And the only way to break out of that secrets is to come out. Yeah, to come out and from isolation and share. Yeah, and get out of, slapping it out, Because again, most of addicts and alcoholics are dying out of depression. Yeah, And we say that mental depletion is like, or depression is like what we call mental blackout. Just like when you're in the house at night and there is blackout. People see blackout, depression. People see what we call Satan when they're in depression. In short, the acronym of seeing all things appearing negative. Their energy becomes so much drained that they just feel hopeless, helpless. The feeling of uselessness and self-pity becomes a drainer of your energy. But the moment you change and you start living a purposeful life, you go on the other overdrive, you go to the other extreme, you become effective, you become somebody useful in the society. And when you feel that, when you look at how this addiction is manifesting in our life, you feel the passion to reach out because you understand the pain that people are going through. Yeah, so now we look at the root. What are the root of addiction? Many people think that addiction is about weakness or lack of discipline. No. Addiction is not lack of discipline or weakness. Addiction is rooted in unhealed emotional pain. Unhealed emotional pain, that's trauma. And especially trauma from our childhood. Yeah, stress, it also reset from stress and pressure, especially in workplaces. And loneliness and disconnection. Yeah, that's another root of addiction, and low self-worth. I remember I told you that I'm a corporate trainer. And I've been going through many corporate training, talking about chronic stress and addiction in workplaces. Yeah, because I've come to realize that so many people are trapped in a job that they are not getting what we call job satisfactions. And so many, especially high-pressure jobs like banks, hospitals, where people are highly, or even police, where people are highly exposed to trauma, high pressure performance, especially salespeople in insurance industry have also realized this. Those are the places where most people are getting this pressure that is leading them into these addictions. Yeah, so addiction becomes a way to numb pain. When you are exposed to such high pressure jobs, addiction becomes a way of numbing pain, also escaping reality, and feeling something different. When you're feeling pressurized, and you take one or two, it becomes now a way of feeling something different from what your body is telling you, from the pressure that one is telling, or that one is experiencing. I remember it starts slowly by slowly. Before you realize it, it becomes the body the mind remembers that every time I feel stressed, I take alcohol, I feel relaxed, so the mind becomes attached to that. Yeah, and it becomes a way of escaping and feeling differently. It's also a way of it's a way of coping in life. It becomes a coping mechanism. Yeah, and for a moment it works. Yeah, but in the long run it destroys. Remember addiction, and especially alcohol. We say addiction is a perfect solvent. Yeah, it dissolves families. It dissolves relationships. It dissolves money. It dissolves your health. And finally, it dissolves your life. Yeah, so it's a wake-up call for all of us. If you have a friend, if you have a family member that is facing all this, they need support. And these people need a lot of love. Some of the signs of addiction. How do you know if one is addicted or if you are getting into addiction? Here are some of the signs. One is loss of control. When you find that whenever you want to stop, you can't, then that's a red flag. Whenever you find you're doing something and you cannot stop, maybe it's masturbation, maybe it's social media, screening away, maybe it's taking alcohol, you find that you have no control over it, or the intake, or you are doing the same thing over and over, probably you are getting into addiction. The other one is increased tolerance. You start watching YouTube after job, 30 minutes. Before you realize you are going 2 hours, 3 hours, you are lost in YouTube or in social media. That is tolerance. You increase the time, Yeah, you need more and more to numb your pain. That's how it develops. Or you are taking 1 glass or 2 glasses, now you are even taking the whole bottle of wine or spirit. That is tolerance, It requires more and more to numb the pain. It increases with the time. Yeah, so tolerance is another. Withdrawal symptoms, when one is denied, like alcohol, you feel irritable, you feel less stress. Until you get alcohol, that's when you feel okay, now you have stabilized. Or maybe a prescription drug, you feel irritable, but when you take those prescription drugs, maybe painkillers, that people are doing what we call self-prescription, you feel relaxed. But when you don't have them, you become restless, irritable, and discontent. That's another sign that probably you are becoming dependent on these painkillers. Or maybe you want to play, you want to gabble, and once you gabble once, maybe you lose. You want to hit back at the gabbling. You go back again, gabble again. The more you have no control of how much money you are gabbling. Yeah, it becomes now you need more and more gabbling. You need more and more to gabble. That's a clear indication that it's no longer fun, it's addiction. The other one is neglecting personal responsibilities because of these addictive behaviors. Yeah, maybe people, you don't take a shower, you are not paying bills, you are not going to job, you are having issues in the workplaces because of alcohol or other addiction, then probably you have addiction. Continuing, you get to continue using or behaving despite negative consequences. Yeah. This and the biggest one is that you find you are living a double life. You are hiding. You don't want people to know. Yeah, these are some signs of addiction, And what are the impacts of addiction? Well, addiction affects more than just the individual. It affects families. Yeah, and you say addiction is a disease. It's a family disease. When one person becomes an addict, the whole family suffers. Yeah. Yeah, because addiction is a family disease, and it's a disease of shame and guilt. You can imagine having a husband who is an addict or an alcoholic. Yeah. You can imagine having a wife who is an addict or an alcoholic, or even a child who is a gambler, losing money all the time. Yeah. Or even you yourself becoming you're addicted to masturbation and pornography. It carries a lot of shame and guilt. And these are things that we are coming across when we are sharing one-on-one, when we are doing counseling. And it is okay to open up. Yeah, remember, it's good to open up in a safe place. You open up, you get out of it, you overcome it, you live a happy, joyous, and free life. Yeah, there is no shame in sharing this with the right person, especially a therapy or a confidant. Yeah, but remember we said that the more secret we have, the more sick we are, and these things are killing us. So slap it out. Yeah. The other thing is it affects workplaces. You find in workplaces there's a lot of absenteeism because of addiction and alcoholism. Oh, there are so many errors. You find like in a banking sector where people, a slight error can become a mountain, digits. A slight error in digits can become a big mountain. Yeah. You find people missing deadlines because of these addictions. Yeah, and a lot of high turnover in the workplaces. So these are impact, or even a lot of what we call medical expenses as a result of this Addictions, and let me tell you, addiction is very expensive. The other one is mental health. Yeah, mental health, people just losing it. Yeah, becoming depressed, becoming unfocused. Yeah, and we say the biggest, the heaviest load that we carry is in our hands. We carry a lot of weight in our hands in form of thoughts, depression, and all that. So just like we wash the body, just like we shower the body, we also need to shower our minds through therapy to keep it clean, keep on offloading heavy loads. Yeah, so there are so many ways that mental health is being affected by this behavior of addiction. Maybe you even have a friend who is, or even a family member. So it becomes disturbing mentally to those who are living with them. The other one is physical health. These are the impact of addiction. You find somebody who was looking good, somebody who was healthy, becoming eroded physically by this addiction and alcoholism. Yeah. So finances. I said addiction is very expensive, and especially when trying to arrest it. Yeah. Other finances is the issue of like gambling, where people end up using a lot of money in the wrong place in gambling, and they end up losing a lot, and even going for loans. So finances becomes highly affected. The other one is relationships, and especially those are very close to us. The relationship becomes affected. Some become broken. Children are affected. If it's a family man or if it's a family, children becomes affected, and that now causes trauma. And that's why you see, if not well taken care of, the same children who are brought up by alcoholics, they may end up becoming alcoholics and drug addicts because of that childhood trauma. They have been maybe they have been exposed so much, causing what we call not chronic, not acute, but complex trauma. Being exposed too much to trauma, especially in childhood, it's a way that these are the things that are affecting us when we grow up. We'll talk about trauma in the next program. Yeah, and in workplaces like hospitals, circles, and transport sector, addiction leads to burnout. Yeah, errors and conflict, and also reduced productivity. Recovery is possible. Yeah, there is hope. There is a solution, and it's good to realize that it's not an overnight, but one day at a time journey. It's not an event. Recovery is not an event. It's a process. Yeah, and remember, it takes time to get into addiction, one day at a time. Maybe you start today, you go up, by the time you are 1 year, you are already developing those, the addiction is developing. To undo that, it also requires time. And remember, if people introduce you to drugs and alcohol and on those addictive behavior, you also need people to help you, to support you, get out of it. Yeah. They say that the illiterates of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. That is, those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Yeah. So if we learned how to use drugs, we must be ready to unlearn that habit and relearn a new way of living. And when we do that, we come out with testimony. Yeah, when you are tested, you get a testimony. And every setback is a setup for a great comeback. So recovery is possible, and it starts with awareness, admitting there is a problem. That's the first step. Admitting, yes, I have a problem. And not only admitting, but accepting. The second step, accepting that I need help. This one breaks denial. And once you break the denial, the rest becomes easier. Support. You need support. You cannot do it alone. That's another fact. And healing, addressing the root causes. Stopping taking alcohol and drugs is one thing. And now, from there, you dig deeper to the causes, to the root problem that is causing that. And that's where now the healing process starts. Transformation starts. And again, you must have, you find purpose in life. Finding meaning beyond addiction. So addiction may be part of your story, but it is not the end of your story. Addiction is a chapter in your life, but not the end of the book. So if you are listening to me now and you are having something that you are suspecting could be addiction, or you have a friend or a relative who is undergoing through these challenges of addiction, remember there is a solution. I've written, after I recovered, I thank God, because I went back to school. I did a diploma in counseling psychology, and now I'm completing a degree in counseling psychology. I've written 10 books explaining this, sharing my experiences. And as we go on, you'll come to realize that addiction affects many other areas of our lives. So thank you so much. As I told you, my name is Gitonga, a therapist, a corporate trainer, an author, and a very grateful recovering alcoholic addict. Thank you so much. May God bless you.